What a horrible position that must have been for them to be going through that and knowing partially what they were doing, but not obviously told the full story.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. But just going back to what we said, earlier, that it wasn't, we took that, like that 45-second clip there, but that 45-second clip is like the accumulation of like 3 years worth of work, because to have that call and to ask the questions, the correct questions, to say, okay, well, how did this work? And, we showed them stuff on older cases that had settled and gone, oh, what do you think of this? What is this? How did this bit work? And then for them to go, yeah, this is how it works because of this, this, and this. It was like, well, anyone could speak to that person, but they could have just said, yeah, no, we got paid commission if we sold the car. But because we'd gone through all of these cases in court, we'd had the documentation that was so heavily redacted.
Yeah, of course, you were prepared to ask the right questions because you knew what you were looking for.
Yeah, and then ultimately, someone comes on like that guy there who's a business manager in the car finance industry, and he goes, oh yeah, this is how it worked. And I mean, that was just one of the calls. We did something like in spring and summer of 2023, we did something like 50 or 60 calls. Yeah. And we just messaged them all on LinkedIn, like anyone who had, sales director, general as a car finance, car dealership, or a service director, or so on. Like, they got a message from me on LinkedIn, and we had so many calls like that. I mean, I've got so many of them where they've gone, okay, you as completely impartial, you was like in the camp, you was selling these commissions, you was getting remunerated for this. You just told me exactly that I was thinking, and then you just give me a bit more because you've actually said that this is a low value car, it's 15 grand, but we were trained to use buzzwords to get them to finance as much as possible.
Yeah. So that's, he said, for a cheap Mazda, but that could have been the same for a Land Rover, for a very expensive BMW, the same case for pretty much everything. Wow.
Yeah, literally. And it wasn't until, you'd done 4 years with little to no payoff, other than the payoff being finding out more information, still going to court, but then being able to make your argument that little bit stronger. And again, a little bit stronger, and then just give the judge, like, these judges are like super busy. The barristers, to be fair to them, super busy. They might be doing a car finance claim in the morning, PPI claim in the afternoon. They might do some other private client work. To physically get someone to sit down and look at all of the information and all of the narrative, down to the terminology used and the attitude of the bank's solicitors. You was like, okay, I've seen enough of this now to go, this stinks.
Yeah. What do you think was the position of the judges after seeing this case pop up time and time again, from like not hearing about it ever to, okay, this has happened once a week, now 5 times a week, now 10 times a week? What do you think was the judge's position there? Like, what do you think they were thinking of?
Well, I think a lot of them were quite dismissive at the start, to like the client's detriment, and to our frustration as well. They were really not interested. They were exhausted with PPI. PPI was so prolific, and they had so many hundreds of thousands of like claims.
Wow.
Where they were just like, I'm not doing this again. Like, I'm not giving this my attention. And it wasn't through, like I say, like the likes of us, Kevin Durkee.
How long did a PPI go on for?
10, 15, what was it, 2011? So what it's still going on now. Like, it not in any big way, but I mean, like, what are you talking, like 14, 15 years?
Wow.
But yeah, I think they were quite rightly so dismissive of the new claim type coming up, and it took a long time to get the evidence to where it needed to be, and other law firms bringing claims as well, and presenting them in a nice way, presenting them in a really well-researched way, not just throwing anything against the wall and hoping it sticks. That you could go, you could do what I literally just did. I had so many calls, and I'm talking so many calls with barristers' chambers, like where there'd be 40 or 50 barristers all on one call, all on a Zoom call. There'd be me and Salman, our head of legal, on this call and going, right, guys, for the next 2 hours on this Zoom call, we're going to walk you through every single bit of information that we've got on car finance. And we did that time and time again. Like, most chambers that are doing financial mis-selling work in car finance claims, we've had a Zoom call with them where all of their advocates, all of their barristers were on the call, and we screen shared everything. I mean, we put together documents for the FCA that basically shows in chronological order to go, this is what we started with, this is what we pushed back off, this is what they said, this is what they provided, this is what we pushed back on, then they provided a bit more, then we got it unredacted, and this is like, it was paint by numbers car finance claims. And it was literally 4 years until like sort of spring, early spring 2024, when it was like, okay, all of that work that we've done over the last 4 years now, it's been put into a nice like 300, 400 page bundle. We've submitted it to the courts, and they've gone, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, let's put that on fast track. Oh, we've won. Oh, what? We've won.
How does it make you feel? Obviously, you just explained what's been happening for the last 4 years. So it kind of seems like Kobe Bryant been practicing the same shot for 4 years over and over and over. And then this guy like Martin Lewis comes over, and you can see how he's trying to make it look like this is very simple and anyone can do it. But you've been in the trenches and you've been figuring out this has been hidden as best as possible for the average person. So how does it make you feel when you've been working so much on this case and he's trying to just completely dismiss it?
Oh, it's it's frustrating, but like expected. And what I mean by that is that you've got all of these people. This is such a big thing now. Everyone's trying to oversimplify it. Not just Martin Lewis. Like anyone who, like, I see it all the time on LinkedIn. Like there's loads of people who've like been nowhere for the last 4 years. They've not even got a claim. They've never issued a claim, or they might have issued 5 or 6, and then all of a sudden they're doing quotes in the press. So I'm just like, everyone's trying to oversimplify it and be an expert, and it's frustrating, but it's also vindicating in the sense that because someone like Martin Lewis is speaking about it, I know it's real, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's not like yes, he is massively oversimplifying it, and it's quite evident that he's oversimplified it, because if you go on his Twitter and you go on any of the car finance tweets that he's done, everyone's complaining because he told everyone back in March 2024 to go and make a complaint themselves and not use solicitors and so on, and everyone's going, yeah, I made a complaint as per your advice, but the lender said can't find your information. The lender said I've ran out of time. The lender said this, and so I was sat there replying to all of these tweets by people who were they weren't having a go at Martin Lewis, but they were saying stuff. So I was like, well, I can answer that. I could reply to you and tell you exactly what to say right now. So I went on Sentinel Legal's Twitter and just started replying to these people saying, no, go back to him as per the Limitation Act. This only happens here.
Cool. Yeah.
And this other person said, oh, Ford have said there was no commission. I was like, oh, okay, go back and ask them for the evidence. And it's just simple things like that where I keep saying to everyone, like, anyone can make a complaint. It's so easy to make a complaint. You can literally write an email saying, I'm complaining under my commissions. But it's what you do after the complaint.
Yeah, I think it's like anything. Like, okay, you can go and learn a new skill, but you have to be able to ask the right questions to learn that skill. So if you make a complaint and then they ask something back and you don't know anything about it, it's like, okay, well, I don't know the next step.
Exactly. And this is the issue that I think a lot of people are not. Like everyone's saying don't use a solicitor because they charge money. Of course they charge money, but I've just told you now for the last however long we've been speaking what you're paying for. We charge 33% plus the VAT to a client, but you've just got 4 years, 5 years worth of experience of everything we've just done. Everything.
It's like trying to learn how to play the guitar and go, oh, don't hire a teacher. They're going to charge your money.
Literally.
It's like, well, I've gone out and figured this out for you.
Correct. And I'm not saying that everyone should go and use a solicitor, but I'm saying that there is some solicitors out there that are like, they genuinely know what they're doing. They genuinely know how to hold the lenders accountable. They know exactly what they're talking about. They know what to ask for. They know how to. They know if Black Horse said to me, I'm going to pay out £1,000 worth of commission based on Sam's agreement, but Sam had a £120,000 Range Rover, I'd be like, sorry, you're taking the P word because I know you're lying. Whereas someone less experienced would be like, okay, £1,000, that's great. That sounds fair. No. We had a client with Santander. They had a Range Rover Vogue, a diesel Range Rover Vogue, £16,041 commission. So, but how can anyone know that that's a fair offer unless you've had the experience?
Yeah.
Unless I can physically pull it up now and say, this is what we found: £16,041 commission paid on your Range Rover. But someone who's never done these before and whatever, and you know, new to the market, they might think £1,000 a fair offer because that's what they've heard, that's what they might have seen.
Yeah.
So yes, like you are going to get your money's worth using a solicitor's firm who knows what they're doing. Martin Lewis quite rightly says you can do this for free, but as I've said a million times, you can fix your boiler for free. You can try and fix your car for free.
Exactly.
You can try and fix your house for free. The end results can use in a professional sometimes, and yourself are going to probably be completely different.
Well, it's what you said. I think it's the urgency of the situation. It's not like you're trying to learn a new skill set and you don't mind spending 5-10 years learning that skill set. But if it's something that's affecting you right now, if you, for example, what you said, if you're trying to fix your roof and winter comes by, well, you probably want to fix it in less than a week because it's going to be quite chilly. So if you've overpaid, in this case, 16 grand, you probably want that money back as quickly as possible.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not from it. We're not just like, there's a lot of things at the minute where people are like doing adverts and they're saying that person's owed like tens of thousands of pounds. It's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. Like, I mean, I've not got any evidence to suggest that the average person is owed £10,000. I've got scenarios where they have been owed more than £10,000, obviously the Range Rover being one of them. But there's a lot of noise out there at the minute that is literally just noise. And there's, in my opinion, you know, few people who have gone through the trenches like Sentinel Legal have. I mean, consumer rights solicitors in Manchester, I know for a fact they've done a very similar route to us, and Kevin Durkin at HD Law, they've done a very similar route. As obviously, he won the Court of Appeal case, which is unbelievable. So there is like credible solicitors out there.
Yeah.
But
everything's going to go in proportion to what you paid. Basically, if you paid for a 16 grand car, you can't expect 10 grand to come back. Yeah,
no, I think there's been a lot of work that's happened over the last 4 years, obviously going into 2025 now, where it's like, wow, okay, this has not been, you were just in the right time at the right place. Like there's been information found that has allowed you over the period of like 4 years to slowly pull it all together. Like, I mean, it's just simple things like that. I just want to play you one more clip because I'm just like, well, this was it didn't hit me that hard when we recorded it in 2023. But now, after seeing more and more evidence of like the interest rates and stuff like that, you just go, okay, this is interesting.
You know, I know this sounds ridiculous, but almost sell the car for nothing. To keep virtually nothing in the car, and you could profit from a warranty. You could profit from a polish. Bizarrely, you know, the body protections that were sold, and then you could profit from the finance. And if you wanted to put,
that aged very well.
But I was like, okay, cool, yeah, you sell the car for nothing, okay, cool, whatever. But it wasn't until now, and like the latter part of like 2024, when I was sat there and I was going, I think I said it on one of the podcasts with Kevin Durkin. The car was like the mechanism. The car was the product to sell the finance. You know, they earn so much money. Like this guy just said on the call, it was like, sell a car at a loss, sell a car with no profit in it because you earned it all back from the finance.
Wow.
And you know, I don't care what side of the fence you're on. I don't care who you are in the industry, like whether you're in solicitors or whether you're in the car finance industry. If you walk into a car dealership and you expect the car dealer to earn the money from selling the car. Yeah. Like, that's categorically. Yeah. The finance is almost like, okay, yeah, you're going to arrange this finance up for me so I can buy this car from you. Brilliant. Great. Okay. I appreciate that so much. I don't have 40 grand sat in my bank account to buy this car right now. Yeah. It's the exact opposite. Wow. You know, you're going into a car dealership where they sell finance, not cars.
You're walking into a bank now.
And it's crazy. And it wasn't until obviously seeing that type of stuff where you really makes you go, this stinks.
Yeah. Has it gone very fast these last 4 years because of this situation? Like been so deep into this issue?
It feels like it's probably been the longest 4 years, but the fastest 4 years of my life, I would say.
Interesting.
In the sense there was some days when I was like, I cannot wait for Monday. Cannot wait. At the start of the disclosure, like the meaningful disclosure, not like, okay, we just give you a DSAR. It's like when the documents started coming through with the redactions, and then we started to have enough information to make phone calls like we did and message people on LinkedIn. That was when it was exciting. That was like when it wasn't work. That was like, no, I'm solving a Scooby-Doo mystery. Do you know what I mean? I think we put like a meme on the Sentinel Legal LinkedIn of I think he was called Freddy in Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
And at when Scooby-Doo, they always found like the ghost or the monster,
guy, yeah.
and they ripped the mask off. We did one where Freddy was like taking the mask off, and it was like Santa underneath or a black horse underneath. It was like, I would have got away with it if it wasn't for you pesky Sentinel Legal. And that's what it felt like. It genuinely felt like it was a game. It was like this. We're solving a case.
Yeah.
You know, like it felt like, have you ever watched Suits? Like it felt like a proper Harvey Specter, Mike Ross scenario, and we were doing this, and we were playing, playing like chess, not checkers. I kept calling it. It's like, okay, cool. We found out this. What does this mean? Who can we speak to that would potentially show us this and like explain this? And it's like, okay, now we've got this. Just go back to him and say this and this and see what they say. And he was like, solicitors are so slow in the sense that if you send an email on Monday, like unless you tell them like I want a response by Friday,
forget about it.
Yeah, I'll chase you 4 or 5 times, and it's such like nonsense in the sense that like I've asked you a question, just answer it.
Yeah, well, it goes back to what you said about like Martin Lewis. If someone was to do this by themselves, expect a reply in 3 weeks, 1 month.
Mate,
if you're not a professional in the industry, obviously you guys, I suppose you have a team that chase these guys up and ask them over and over again. But if it's someone that has their normal 9-to-5 job, they're not going to be thinking about this every minute.
No. But also you're going to get to a point where you're exhausted with it.
Yeah, you go like, okay, whatever.
And there was a lot of times where like certain clients' cases, they kind of not fizzled out's the wrong word, but like we got to a brick wall. But then something would happen in another case, another client with the same lender. They would go, oh wow, we found this information, so that now allows us to use this information against this client. Because we know this document exists. So we went back on all of the other clients and said, right, give us these documents because we found it on one. So by having like multiple irons in the fire, we was able to, progress everything quite drastically and quite quite meaningful rather than just going, oh well, we've hit a brick wall now, nothing else we can do about it. So it kind of felt in 2023, in the middle of 2023, it felt really exciting because you knew every single day was a learning opportunity. Like every single day was like, what am I going to find out today? But that's what it felt like. It was like, what's this phone call going to say? What's this guy going to say? What's this person going to say on LinkedIn? Oh, that's interesting. I've not thought of that. Oh, what lender was that? Santander. I didn't think they were bad. Forward credit. They keep saying there's no commissions paid. No, you need to ask for this because this is what. And he was like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
So it was like we've got this arsenal over the last 4 or 5 years of just going, okay, cool. We've got all of this information. We've got all of the like documentation to back it up because we've asked on it. Like we did lots of pre-action disclosure applications, which basically means I'm going to take you to court to ask for all of this information before I issue proceedings against you. And the judge basically says yes or no, give them all this information. It's designed to not take up the court's time, so we could get all of this information without like issuing in court and then clogging up the court system.
Mm-hmm.
So that works really well for us, and we've got all of these introducer agreements between the lender and the broker that gives us a very, very strong range. Like if you said to me, what's the average commission paid for Santander in 2016, I'd just go on my spreadsheet and go, well, it was anywhere between sort of 12% and 15% based off the 100 introducer agreements that we've got. And so we've got all of these ranges now where we know if something doesn't look right, we just consult a sort of like Bible, for want of a better word, and we go, okay, yeah, that's probably about right.
And where's the industry right now? Obviously now, the FCA was deciding what direction this was going over Christmas, I think. Where is it heading now?
So since the Court of Appeal with Kevin and the Johnson case, the lenders have come out and said that they're going to appeal it, and I think that's penciled in. They wrote to the Supreme Court to say, will you hear this case? The Supreme Court has granted permission. It's on the Supreme Court website, so you can go and check that out. It's actually penciled in between the 1st and the 3rd of April, so it's going to be a 3-day hearing, April 2025. That will be to hear basically the whole case again. And off the back of whatever the Supreme Court says is going to basically be the last, the full rubber stamp to say, yes, this is it. Game on. You have done something wrong and you now need to pay for that in the form of compensation. Or it'll be, I think it'll be a combination of like, yes, you've done something wrong and this is how you need to pay for it. But I don't think the Supreme Court will be, okay, this is how you pay for it. I think that'll be down to the FCA.
Okay.
The Supreme Court will just go, you've done something wrong. This is what we think is the appropriate remedy for this on this particular case. And that transaction will happen. But then it will be up to like the regulator, the FCA, to say, okay, as per the Supreme Court decision, this is any cases that fall within these parameters of discretionary commission models, fixed commission models, lease hire, credit hire, all that sort of stuff. You have a claim, and this is what the lender has to do to right your claim.
Interesting. Wow. So it's going to be an interesting start to the year, 2025.
Yeah, I think the Q1 will be gone before we know it. April will come, and hopefully we see the Supreme Court make their decision before the summer recess. Hopefully.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be sometime before September or sometime in September. But other than that, it'll probably be October, November time before we see it. So it'll be an interesting year because I think everyone's going to be sat on their hands now waiting to know what the Supreme Court say.
Yeah. You operate with such large margins. 7 months will have to go by until something.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is for Sentinel as well, that 7 months has gone so fast, will go so fast if it comes to that, because we've got live clients in the courts at the moment. So we're not sat there making complaints. We're not doing that. We're taking these cases all the way through the courts. I mean, we've not issued on any new ones in any meaningful size. I think we've issued on maybe 40 or 50 in Q4 last year in 2024. But I think we're just going to keep going, acquiring all of this evidence, presenting it in the courts, hopefully educating some judges along the way to say, no, we've done this properly. It needs to have its time, but that'll be gone before you know it.
Yeah.
It's fast at the minute. We've got quite a lot going on.
Interesting. That's good. Well, thank you very much. That's almost an hour gone by. Wow.
No way. That was an hour.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. That was only supposed to be 20 minutes.
So Supreme Court, if you're listening, you know what to do.